Welcome back to Goffy's Fishing Channel. Thanks for joining us for another episode. So today I'm going to do a review of the Matrix Horizon reels. They're quite new out, to be fair. I first saw them at the Stoneleigh Tackle Show, at the Big One show, and I thought they looked a really nice reel. So I think for the money they're really well placed in the market. They probably suit a really wide range of anglers, from pleasure anglers right up to match anglers. And I think that Matrix have done an excellent job on creating what looks like a really high-end reel for less than £100 really. So I think they've done an excellent job there. So starting off with the 3000 size reel, I've got one just here which is on a 9-foot Matrix carp feeder rod. So you can see that there. So this I'd predominantly use for small to medium sized commercials, for fishing a feeder or something like that. I think it's really interesting to show as well on these, which is the line lay, because the line lay for a reel that's around about the £60 mark is pretty unreal, to be honest. I think it's really good. And as I say, for me, that's the perfect size reel for a 9 to 10 foot rod, I think, really. 3000. I wouldn't want to be putting it on anything much bigger than that. But for a 9 or 10 foot rod, for fishing for carp, or even for fishing short, for bream or skimmers or something like that, or fishing a short float rod, I think it'd be an excellent rod as well. So, yeah, I mean, 3000, I don't think you can go wrong for the money. £60, I think that's a great, excellent reel. I'll talk to you about a few more of the features on the different size reels. So the next one up is the 4000 Matrix 4000 Horizon 4000 reel, which again, another beautiful looking reel. Essentially the design's much the same across all the reels. You're just looking at a different size reel. So the 4000s I've got paired up with an 11-foot rod, an 11-foot feeder rod, and I've also got them on 11-foot float rods as well. I think that 4000s probably going to do all your fishing up to about sort of 40 turns, something like that on the reel. I think anything past that you want to be stepping up again. So I use these as well for braid fishing with bream, and they're excellent for that also. So it's not just limited to commercial fishing. I mean, predominantly most of my fishing is with on natural venues and reservoirs, and they're excellent for both mono and braid. So one of the really nice features I think that Matrix have nailed on this reel is to do with the handle. So I've noticed, and from my experience in the past, a lot of the reels I've always had problems with the handles moving when I've packed them away into my bag. So if you unscrew the handle on this rod, what you'd normally have is a handle, you fold it in and then sort of try and tighten it back up again to hold it in place, and what you'd find normally is that handle would flick about. But what Matrix have actually done is they've actually machined the back edge of the knuckle completely flat, which means that by doing that it struggles to turn itself, well, it's more or less impossible for it to turn itself back in. So what that means is that handle, once you fold that in, is really quite nicely fixed in place. And I think that's something that a lot of other manufacturers have struggled to get quite right. I think Matrix have done an excellent job there. It's just a very small design feature change has made, I think, a really big difference to the user of the reel. And I think now I'd feel much more comfortable packing 2 and 3 rods into a bag together with these reels on than I would with, say, a reel that doesn't have that feature. Of course, some reels also have a lock-in button that you can press to fold the handle in and out. They also work exactly the same, and I think they're really good. What they do say, the reason for not having a locking mechanism on every handle is because that tends to introduce a little bit more movement. So when that handle is in its use position, as in it's folded out, it's all screwed up properly, you don't, when you're winding in, you don't want that handle to have any movement side to side. And sometimes, if the button locking mechanism isn't quite right, you can get that. It's something that I've experienced on some reels in the past. I must say, TDRs, they don't have that problem, and they do have the locking button, but they don't tend to have that problem. So yeah, I mean, that's the same on the 3, 4 and 5000s. Essentially these reels are all exactly the same, they're just different sizes, so the features are exactly the same. And there's one more feature I'd just like to touch on. So this is the 5000 version of the Horizon reel. So you can see there, that's the Matrix Horizon 5000. Now it becomes much more apparent, obviously this is a much larger reel, it becomes much more apparent on this size reel that there's a really nice taper on the spools. So obviously on a distance rod you want the line to fly off the spool as quickly as possible when you're casting out. But I think Matrix have got that taper just right, and also they've introduced a nice fillet on the inside here. So this you can probably just about see that there on camera. So just on the inside of the lip there's a really nice smooth contour, and I think that even if you've got the spool loaded slightly under or slightly over its capacity, I think that line's going to come off there absolutely perfect. I've used these 5000s quite a bit since I bought them. Obviously this one's got no line on, I know that, but I've got one with braid in the bag, and it's been absolutely excellent for casting distance. I've really noticed that you're getting that extra little bit of distance than what you would on some of the other 5000 reels that are available on the market. And I think that's really key to making the 5000 an excellent tool for sort of 50 metres plus. I've got this on a 13-foot Horizon XC class rod, and I think that's absolutely perfect as a pair up. I think the 5000, I know some people use 5000s on 12-foot rods as well, and I would do that, and I'd encourage that if I was using, say, a 12-foot Aventus distance rod, or if I was using a 12-foot sort of XD class, something with a bit more backbone, something that I was trying to cast more towards that 100 metres, 80, 100 metre mark, then I'd definitely want to be using 5000s or even bigger. But for me, 12-foot Matrix XS Slims, I'm not casting such a distance, and I think a 4000 reel sits on there much more comfortably, and it just makes the rod that little bit lighter. And I think that's really important, particularly when you're fishing for roach or something like that on big open reservoirs, and you want to cast maybe 200, 300, 400 times in a match, then yeah, I think you need a lighter reel. I really do. I think 5000 can take its toll when you're casting regularly. So I think 4000's a much better size, up to sort of 40 metres, something like that. If I was casting much more than 40 metres, yeah, step up to the 5000, or as I say, even bigger. There's some awesome reels out there from Shimano and things like that. To be honest, I don't use Shimano reels anymore, but I know that the Ultigras are absolutely awesome reels, and there's some fantastic big pit reels out there from different manufacturers that also, you know, get you that sort of extra distance. But I must say, really impressed with these Horizon reels. I think they've done an excellent job with the design team at Matrix on these reels. I think for the price bracket they're in, 60 to sort of £100 mark, then I think, yeah, they're going to be difficult to beat really for that sort of money. I also use TDRs on 11-foot and 12-foot rods, and they're the 4000. Now I think they're workhorse reels. I think they're absolutely excellent for reeling in big fish, reeling in lots of small fish continuously. I just think that they never seem to wear out. I think they're awesome. But these Horizons, let's just see if they stand the test of time. I certainly think they look like they will. And I think what Matrix have done is created a reel that looks really quite high end in the market for a really good price. You know, I think up to £100. You know, if that reel lasts you, you know, I mean, if you're a pleasure angler only fishing maybe once a week or something like that, then that reel could last you years and years and years. And if you're a sort of hardened veteran match angler that's fishing twice or more every week, matches, you know, every single week, then yeah, okay, maybe they might last you 3-4 years, 5 years. For £60, I think that's a reasonable thing to expect. And obviously, the more rods and the more reels you've got, the less wear there is on each one anyway. So, you know, I think, yeah, I'd highly recommend these reels. If you've liked this video, I know everybody's struggling at the minute, being stuck in the house. It's absolutely horrendous, but it's nice just to put some content online for people to watch. I know I've been watching loads of YouTube myself, so I think it's really important to keep everybody's chins up, really, and also give us something to sort of look at for those days when we will be able to get back out on the bank. I'm really looking forward to it, probably just as much, if not more, than all the rest of you out there. So yeah, thanks for watching, and yeah, click subscribe. Thanks very much.